So I guess we know now that Big Jim does not proceed with caution, because obviously last week we had the supposed match between Naomi and Io Sky that was supposed to be for the women's championship, but it was called off due to a personal reason for Naomi. A lot of people were speculating as to what that may be, because she wasn't injured, or at the very least we didn't hear of any injuries, and it was kind of kept under wraps, and a lot of people kind of speculated as to what that was. And tonight, the entire night, we were kind of told that eventually Naomi is going to sound off on the state of the women's championship. And she came out here and she was introduced by Adam Pearce. She had the floor. She directed us all our attention towards the Titantron, in which case we see the Stephanie McMahon podcast with Jimmy Uso and Naomi, in which case it's revealed that Naomi is pregnant. And like Naomi eloquently put it, there is going to be a new member of the bloodline. The bloodline will never die. And obviously this means that she's going to go away for possibly maybe 9 months up to a year, and we're not going to see Naomi for that time being. And now it kind of leaves the question as far as what do we do with the women's championship, because we have Stephanie Vaquer. She earned her championship match at Clash in Paris, and now what happens to that? I say simple solution, really, when you look at it at face value, is Stephanie Vaquer. She won at Evolution. She guaranteed a championship match at Clash in Paris. And Io Sky, she was supposed to have the match last week with Naomi. So it kind of seems like the simple solution would be to have Io Sky against Stephanie Vaquer, Clash in Paris. I mean, especially with that overseas type crowd, they're going to eat that shit up. That's personally what I would do. I don't know what they're going to do personally. They did announce that next week we're going to have more clarity as far as the women's title and what they're going to do moving forward. But obviously a very special moment for Naomi. As Big Jim said in the podcast, it felt like she was just starting to cook with this whole heel persona. But obviously if she's going to leave for something, it's good that this is the reason that she's leaving. And aside from that, we also had the return of Roman Reigns once again here to challenge Bronson Reed at Clash in Paris. So we had the main event match between Jey Uso and Braun Breaker. Earlier in the night, there was a segment with Paul Heyman and The Vision. One thing I will say real quick before I get into what I get into, The Vision, right? They open up these shows consecutively, for the most part, the same, right? The Vision comes out there. They spiel on about how great they are. They get interrupted by a babyface, and then we have that babyface in the main event match against a combination of either Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, or Bronson Reed. It's kind of paint by numbers stuff, and especially this week, it was made official that this match between Braun Breaker and Jey Uso was going to be, I think, an Extreme Rules match or something along those lines, right? Essentially, no DQ, because for the last, I think, 5 or 6 weeks, there's been a DQ in every single main event match. I can't make it up. There's been disqualifications left and right, and obviously tonight they kind of gave you a wink as far as that goes. But it was the same scenario, because we saw in the main event, we saw LA Knight out there in the main event, and eventually we saw Roman Reigns make his return. I think everybody knew Roman was going to return here, simply for the fact of he was advertised throughout the arena. The arena's advertisements obviously pointing out that he was going to be there tonight in Philadelphia. And obviously we're going to get this match now between Bronson Reed and Roman Reigns, essentially for the Shula Fala, I guess, right? The Bronson Reed Shula Fala that he carries around nowadays. And I probably see Roman getting the win there, and then possibly after that match he might get written off so he could go film his movies or whatever the case is. Again, kind of paint by number stuff. Like I said before, how many times have we seen Roman Reigns return to take on this heel Seth group of The Vision? And it also seems like they're going to start to tease possibly maybe the Kabuki Warriors, particularly Asuka, go heel against possibly a Rhea Ripley or an Io Sky. They're obviously teasing something with that. That's what I assume it would possibly be. Maybe a Kabuki Warrior Asuka heel turn, because now that Naomi's gone, this is one thing I didn't mention. Now that Naomi's gone, before her it was Liv Morgan that was the top heel on that Raw brand. Now that both of those women are gone, who, realistically is the top heel now, right? You really don't have a top heel on that show. Becky Lynch is possibly the top heel, but she's in the IC title division, and really I don't know who we make the top heel at this point. Because tonight we had a Bayley video package once again where they're kind of teasing this split personality thing with her, where, she's kind of wrestling with the thoughts of what she was back in her, ding dong hello phase, her heel phase, a few years ago, 3-4 years ago. So they're kind of teasing that, but again, I don't really think that Bayley is going to be the top heel in the meantime, right? I don't really foresee that happening. And speaking of Becky Lynch, we also got Becky Lynch against Natalya, which really this was just a setup for the post-match where Becky Lynch is attacking Maxine Dupree and Natalya, and then Nikki Bella comes out for the save. Again, I don't know if this is a Clash in Paris match or possibly at that September PLE that they're planning to go head-to-head with AEW. Another Clash in Paris match that we got made official here tonight was Rusev against Sheamus. I think putting this in the France overseas crowd is going to obviously aid it, because sometimes during these stateside crowds, sometimes the people really don't give a shit as far as these guys and their matches. And I feel like if you do this match overseas, you at the very least get a hot crowd for it. I know some other stuff happened on Raw, but this was sort of the main sort of talking points that I wanted to go over. Again, like I said before, very happy for Naomi, very happy for Big Jim. Obviously, this is something that they've wanted to accomplish for a long time, and now they get a chance to do it. So obviously, very happy for them. Again, very curious to see what they do with the women's title next week. We'll see what they announce next week. And as far as that goes, post your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of tonight's episode of Raw. And until next time, I will see all of you on the next one.